All right, everybody. Welcome to an episode of Dave's Garage. We've got a little bit of a different format here. I'm going to have to do some voiceover from the track day video. The track day was a complete clusterfuck. No reflection on N2 or the control riders and the group itself. This was the people that were there that were attending this particular day. It was just an absolute dumpster fire. So nothing but red crashes. We didn't get a single full session, and we ended up just packing up and going home early. So, and then found out that most of my video wasn't usable. A, because I didn't have a ton of video, but also the the we're not allowed to use helmet cams, and so having a naked bike where the camera is right there in getting the full brunt of the wind, unfortunately, too much wind noise and stuff once you're over 70 miles an hour. It's all you can hear. You can't even hear the bike. So without any further ado, here we are on the starting grid. On the didn't bother doing the warm-up session just because there's usually not much happens. Turns out I should have, and I should have learned this lesson years ago because that's when I had a guy crash right in front of me and I plowed right into him. Had no time to react. Should have had the camera running, but on the warm-up session they were very clear. This is a sighting lap. This whole session is yellow flag. You do not pass control riders. You do not pass other riders. This is for you to go out and to learn the track and familiarize yourself with the track and know where the turns are and braking markers and all that. They were very clear about that. And so we go out there, and in the first lap of the warm-up session of the day, there's this guy from Texas on a S1000RR, and he's passing everybody, and he's obviously on his Cena talking to somebody, and he's waving his arms and pissed off. Looks like a road rager in his car bitching about traffic being backed up, like literally. And I'm looking at him, and I was behind the control rider, not like you see here. There was one guy in front of me on a Panigale, and he was trying to pass him and get in between him and the control rider. And the guy's looking at him like, "What are you doing?" And he's sitting there waving at him, and he didn't give him the finger, but he's kind of like almost flicking him off and obviously agitated. And then he goes to pass the control rider, and he pulls up alongside and asks, "Can I pass?" And the control rider's like, "No." And he starts giving him the attitude. I talked to Robert Murillo, a buddy of mine who's one of the control riders. He's like, "Yeah, it's the guy from Texas. He's a known problem." I'm thinking, well, why the hell do you let this guy on track? So I was talking to the guys around me about it that were pitted with us, and I was like, I've been to enough of these track days. I've seen how this story ends. That dude will be either black flagged and kicked out, or he's going to be in the gravel. He's going to be going off road. One or the other. So we'll come back to that fellow a little later because unfortunately I didn't. It's on the session I'm in, but he was behind me. So we'll pick up that story a little bit later. So here I am on the 2023 MT-10, hoping to get some good riding in. The weather was hot as shit. It really was brutal hot. 94, 95 degrees, but out on track in the parking lot and all that stuff, we're sitting at well over 100. And then you throw on your gear and stuff, so it's a heat index of like 118. It was really, really brutal. Good news is you got your grip, which then was puzzling with so many people crashing. I was like, you got amazing grip. like, and you just people just could not seem to stop crashing. So I don't think at any point during the day we got more than 3 consecutive laps in. So there I just completed 1 lap. That's 1 lap. And the control rider waved me ahead. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit. I got a little heat in the tires. The new suspension feels great. Very controlled, very poised. Not excessively hard. Just feels really good. There you go, little third gear wheelie, or was that fourth gear wheelie? I don't know. That's called wheelie hill for a reason. But this bike was good. You can kind of set it right where you want. You can hit your apexes pretty well. There's a couple turns I messed up that went into a little bit hot. The acceleration was really good. Coming on the back straight, you could just pour on the power, and it didn't want to run wide. The suspension really is working well. We got a 3-way adjustable with remote reservoir nitron shock on the back, and the front is stock suspension, but with race tech springs and stuff like that in it, just to get it sprung for my weight. So we're going to be coming up on the end of the second lap. which is, okay, so we're hitting 10A. Now we're hitting 10B up the hill. This part is actually kind of tricky because on this bike, it just wants to wheelie so much. You come out of that turn in second and going up a hill in second or third, it's just going to wheelie all over the goddamn place. Come down into a hard braking zone here. I think I usually take that in second, unless I'm bottled up behind a bunch of people and have to slow down a little more than I want, then I might go down to first. But blitzing past like 600s and stuff on the straights, real easy on the MT-10. I mean, ultimately on the super fast. Oh, and then we already got a red flag. All right, so I adjust right about here, because here's where you enter the track. That would have been the end of my second lap. And so already we've got a red flag. Someone went off track. And they had to pull us in and yell at us. Well, really at the one guy, but they wanted to tell the whole group. So just to make sure everybody got the goddamn message was, when you crash, especially if you're in the gravel, they're like, because a lot of the guys in novice are on street bikes, as am I. And normally I go in novice because that's where my wife, my friends, my stepdaughter, everybody's been in novice. And I've been fine with it. A couple times I've done intermediate. One time they told me I had to go to intermediate. We were at a smaller track, Tally, and my buddy and I, Vince, were lapping enough people that they were like, you need to be up on intermediate. I'm like, all right, whatever. But all my friends and family and everybody's typically been in. It's only recently, at the end of last season, that Cameron and Jake and Dean and them have moved up. So I'm like, all right, finally. I guess, all right, I'll go up there. So because I like being out on track with my friends. I don't want to be in the pits while they're on track and they're in the pits while I'm on track. It's like I want to go out there and ride with my buddies and family and my wife and stuff. So now we have to get off the track. So we got to kind of hustle and get to the off ramp, I guess. Whatever, we got to pit out. But they told the guys, they're like, look, when you drop your bike, everyone's like, oh, stop, no, pick up my bike, my baby. It's a piece of fucking metal and plastic, and the fact that it's on the ground, you've already trashed it. Just leave it. Get off the track, get off the race line, get to safety. Don't sit there trying to pick your bike up. Don't try to put it up on the kickstand. Leave it. So, of course, the guy goes off-roading on his Ducati Monster, and he's over there trying to put the bike up, puts it up on the kickstand in the middle of the gravel trap, which is a safety item. It's bad enough that there's already a bike in the track, but if it's laying on its side, it's less of a danger and hazard than if it's sitting upright on its kickstand, because if someone else goes off track and hits the bike while it's sitting up, they're much more likely to get hurt than if it's laying down and they'll probably just jump over it. You know what I mean? So, had to pull everybody off the track, and they told us, like, if you go sit out there, you put your bike up on a kickstand, you're going to have to just leave it, because if you put it on the kickstand, we have to shut the track down to go get it. So so there's a red flag. So we're like, all right, you know what, let's get back out there, let's get at it, let's see if we can get some, because it takes a minute to get your heat back in your tires, although on a hot day probably not as much of a concern. But me, I'm riding a $15,000 street bike that is my insurance will not cover on a track day. It says right in my insurance policy. So it's like, I'm going to go out there and I'm not going to hammer it the first lap. And that's what everybody was doing. There's all these guys that are like, oh, I'm here to do a track day. I'm going to race. And it's like, this isn't a race. It's to practice. It's to get better. And you certainly want to go fast. But, especially when you're on a street bike, it's like, get in there and do it in such a way that you get home in one piece. So many people, that was just beyond their skill set. So anyway, so we're back out here. I don't know, this might have been the third session for the day, so maybe the last session before lunch. And so that guy was on, I don't know, some kind of full sport bike. Let me see if I can catch up to him. I don't know if I can catch him on this. I'm pulling on him slightly. I don't know if it's enough before the turn. What the hell is he? I can't quite tell. I'm editing this and I'm doing a voiceover, but I'm looking at a small representation of the screen, so I can't quite see it in as much detail. So, all right, hit it 10A, hit 10B. This is a nice, really nice track. We're at Road Atlanta in Brazelton, Georgia. It's about 15 minutes from my house. So I wasn't too mad when we left early, because I was like, fuck it. I can go home and jump in the pool. I'll be home, and by the time we stop and get gas or get a drink or whatever, I can be back at the house in 25 minutes and sitting in the pool in a Mai Tai. So anyway, we're thinking, all right, let's see if we can get some good laps in. So we're going to go ahead and where are we now? We're coming into the chicane after turn one, right-hand turn, and left. I usually shift from second to third gear right there. Start rolling on the gas here, drop into the right, and then kind of zip, try to go almost straight through here. You can do that on a bike. On a car, it's more of a back and forth. Usually drop to second, come out of the hill, shift up to third at some point. Usually third, you're popping a wheelie there. I have my dash set up for track view, for track mode, which turns on the lap timer. But honestly, we couldn't get any damn consecutive laps in, so it was like, why even bother? We get out there and do 1-2 laps, someone would crash, and that would be the end of it. So I never really got to use the lap timer, so I guess I could just watch the video if I can string one lap together. Hit the back straight, though. This thing was a blast. I'll say, like any naked bike, once you start getting to about 140, not a lot of fun, especially if you're 6'3", 6'4"-ish, whatever, with a helmet on and gear, and you're just a big guy, because that's a lot of wind beating you up. I'm going to try to get the taller windscreen, see if that helps. That might also help with the camera. If I get the camera out of the wind, that's the other problem, is that on the ZX14, my camera mount sits on the... Okay, so it was a yellow flag there. And then as I passed the corner workers and went down here, that's when I saw, oh shit, now it's a red flag. So at this point now, I've already missed the pit out. So I've got to just book it. Now, the good news is I had clear, track in front of me. But I just saw the red flag back there. I thought I saw a red flag, and then it was like, when I came up to this one, it was like, definitely, yep, red flag. I was like, why is there nobody else on track but me? I literally just missed it, because if I look at that video, it was yellow as I hit the last corner worker before going up under the bridge. And it wasn't until I was coming down into turn 12 that I was like, ah, shit. No, I'm that guy. And you never want to be that guy. You want to get off the track. As annoying as red flags are, if someone's down and hurt, they can't roll the ambulances until the track is clear. So it's like, fudge. I got 2 minutes now. That's 2 minutes that dude's having to sit there, or girl, whoever, is having to sit there. So I did feel kind of bad about that, but it honestly wasn't my fault. I mean, it was a yellow flag until I went under the bridge. It was already past the point of no return, and then like 50 yards later, it was like they threw the red flag down. And that happens sometimes. They'll throw the yellow because it looks like the person's okay and they're off track, but then they see something and the person signals, I'm not okay, and then they're like, okay, we'll red flag it. Because if you just low-sided like here, and you were well off track and you got up and walked away and you're sitting over by the air fence and you're like, no, I'm good, they'll just, as long as your bike and everything's clear and you didn't dump any oil or parts on the track, they'll usually finish the session and then send the crash cart out to collect you, and you'll just have to sit there and wait. So, but yeah, there was just red flag after red flag after red flag, and it really was crazy. I've just never seen that before. So I come in, pit in yet again. So what was that, 2 laps? I think I got 2 sessions with 2 laps. And the problem here is that you have a crash, you go back to the grid, and then you go back out. Well, at some point, if there's not enough time to make it worthwhile, they just send you back, say, go to the pits. You're going to just cancel the rest of your session. So that's happened a few times where we just they didn't let us go back out. Is that you go out, there'd be a crash, you come back in, and if it was quick enough, they'd let you go back out, and there'd be another crash, and they're like, look, just go back to the pits. So here we are. This is the first session. Let's see. This might be the 3rd session of the day. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe this one's the 3rd session. So I got behind a control rider, and we go out, and we're going to have some fun here. So he's putting down, I'm not going to say an awesome pace. He's putting down a good pace. It's fun. We're doing decent speeds through here and stuff. So this is turn 5. That's where ironically, I crashed years ago. Had a dude, actually, I keep saying I crashed. I didn't crash. A guy literally tucked the front right in front of me. And I was taking a little bit of a wider line so I could come out of the turn and pass him. And unfortunately, if I'd been behind him, he would have slid away from me and I would have been fine, because I was taking a wider line because I was setting up to pass him. When he low-sided, he slid right into my line. Boom. I hit him right in the back. He got airlifted, sent out to Grady. He was in a coma for a week. Did make a full recovery, so that was good. But I was out there it was during the warm-up session, I was on a Ducati 1198. I'd had it for a week, and yeah, that was not a fun day. So what are we doing? Come down into 10A. So you come down off that back straight, and you got to immediately start scrubbing off speed because you got a second gear left, and then a second gear right going up that hill. I know Wesley would be like, "I took it in sixth. I took it in eighth. Whatever." Shut up, Wesley. We all know it. You're faster than me. I don't care. so, all right, come down here. I usually take this on second on this bike. If I take it in first, I get a little more drive, but it just wheelies nonstop, and that actually hurts my drive. So I usually take that in second just to help mitigate that a little bit. There was one turn where I went in. I was trying to pass some guy. He was on a, I don't know what he was on. He might have been on a Gixxer 750, which is obviously a pretty quick bike. I've got more horsepower than him, but I don't have the aero that it has. And so if it's tuned and set up properly, a 750 will give me a little bit of trouble on acceleration. And so I had to hold. Well, we'll get to that point and explain what happened because you'll probably see me go way deep into first and just fuck that turn up. I don't know what this guy's on. What is he on? That might be, looking at the tail lights, that might be his GSX-R because it's got his blinkers on the side. Yeah, 750. He was in the gravel later. We'll see him later, standing up in the gravel at 10A. And then there was, let's see, there's that the Aprilia. There's Aprilia out there. There's a, on the left is that's an Aprilia that just passed in the turn, which you're not supposed to do in novice, but whatever. And that guy's on a Ducati 848. He was sketchy in the turns and very easy to pass. Now I've got to catch up to that Aprilia. I don't know what Aprilia it is because there's no way. Maybe he's got a 660 because there's no way that an RSV4 I would have passed like that if he was on the gas. No frickin' way. The MT-10, especially in its current state of tune, is really freaking fast. But the Aprilia would just absolutely rape me if he was given it a decent amount of throttle. So what's this dude? Let's see if, while I'm editing this, if I can... let's see, can I make any changes? No. All right. I'm stuck with that view size unless I stop recording. All right, coming down 10A, 10B. So this, one of these laps, there was a guy that I was trying to accelerate past. No, he was fairly easy to pass. There's one where I just came into turn one a little bit hotter. No, that was the one. He was trying to keep with me, and I was just holding it pinned longer just to see. I was like, all right, I got to stay ahead of him, so whoever's going to chicken out first. And then he did chicken out first, but then I was like, oh, shit, turn. So went a little deeper than I thought, but oh well. That's what track days are for, to practice in a safe environment. All right, so coming down through the chicane, trying to kind of find my rhythm here. So this, I think, was the best session we had as far as how long we got. I think I might have gotten 3 laps out of this one. So second, pop in third. That time I was able to keep the front end down. Let's see what kind of speeds I'm hitting. I think I saw 100 there on that one. This is a big track. It's a lot of fun on naked bikes. I mean, I've done Z900s out there, Super Dukes, Speed Triples, Monster 1200S, Street Triple RS, now this. It's a lot of fun on a naked bike because you're upright, you got lots of control and stuff. But I will say, it hurts your top end. You do not have the top end speed. Your acceleration, you can see there. It's pulling, but it's not pulling like the ZX14 or an R1 would. I tried to hold the gas a little bit longer through the turns. It's a weird turn, that last turn, turn 9, because it's a blind hill, so you can't quite see what's over the other side. Now, you've done the track day enough times, so you just know it's there, and you should just trust it. But that guy, his ass was glued to the seat. Really nice guy. Is that the guy in the Super Duke? Yeah, he's got the Super Duke 1290. He was hard to pass on the straights, but in the turns he was a lot slower, so it was easier to just kind of get by him. But yeah, when you get up to the top speeds, like on this front straight here, I was hitting, I think, 140 on the front straight on the ZX14. And, having that fairing, I'm hitting barely, yeah, I think I saw 130 there. So it pulls pretty good. But once you get over 130 on a naked bike, they'll still pull, especially if you get in a tight tuck. But it's not like having a full-on sport bike with a fairing and stuff. That's just the limitation. But you make that concession because everywhere else, the naked bike is at least as good, if not superior. You know, if you're not going hyper speeds, it doesn't matter. If you're up in the mountains, you're on a twisty road and a back road blasting around, this will be every bit as fast as an RSV4, a Panigale V4S. Unless you're Rossi himself, you're just not going to be faster. It's going to come down to rider. The bike itself can do everything those bikes can do on twisty, turny roads. They got the suspension, they got the power, they got the brakes. And that's another big difference here I saw. So where the ZX14 had a real advantage on this track when it came to the straightaways, you had to get rid of that massive speed. And so your brakes were cooked by the end of the day because you got a bike that's 570 pounds instead of 470. 100 pounds doesn't sound like a lot. Imagine a 100-pound dumbbell going 150 miles an hour. What would that do if you hit a brick wall with it? Took a steel dumbbell at 100, it was 100 pounds, and you launched it out of a cannon. And, we got another red flag. Of course we do. So who was it this time? Who was it this time? Damn it. You're like, son of bitch, I just want to get some track. So I think that was the best session of the entire day. We got 3 consecutive laps, and that was it. So we're like, all right, let's give it one more session. And I think we did this 2 more times. So we're like, all right, let's go out. This, I believe, was the first session after lunch. So everyone's had a chance to break. They had another rider meeting saying, you all need to chill the F out. This is track day. You guys are a novice. Stop going out there and trying to be a hero and win the track day because you're not. So I'm following here a guy, Alex, on his Street Triple RS 765, and Jonathan. So I was like, hey, let me follow you guys. I want to get some video of you guys. So we get out on the first lap of the first session after lunch, and already there's going to be a red flag coming up. Notice he just slowed down because we saw the red flags waving. We're like, again, we've been on track for 41 seconds. And someone's already gone in because I gotta go fast. I got to make up for lost time. And they go bombing into the first friggin' turn, lose the front. So we're like, all right, we're going to do this one more time. We kept saying that. We're going to go out again. So this is like the second session after lunch. So it's the fifth or sixth session of the day, and we're really getting frustrated. It is really hot at this point. I mean, we are miserable, and the only time you get in relief is honestly when you're on track and you're moving. So we're like, we're paid $250 or $270, whatever it was, to do the track day. You got to get up at 5 in the morning. You got to do a lot of prep the day before. You're moving, hauling the trailer around. You got to go get supplies and gas cans and snacks and water and get your fan and your pop. I had to go buy a pop-up tent because the one last year a wind blew it and broke it. So that was $130. So it's like, you go, it's several $100 in a whole day of your time, and you're miserable in the heat when you do these in the summertime in the South. I don't know what the hell. That person slowed down, so Jonathan slowed down. So I was like, all right, I'll just pass Jonathan and that guy, and then I'll go play here where I'm following Alex. He's from over in Smyrna. Been on the track a bunch of times in his Miata, but he'd never been out on his bike before. So he's doing really well. Actually, he was quick. I was able to pass him just because of the power. But, in the turns and stuff, he was actually really fast. He was a good rider. His tires were, he had good tires. His bike was set up good. Set up well. Sorry, that would be the correct grammar. But anyway, so it's on this session. So remember I mentioned earlier, there was the guy that was from Texas on the S1000RR that was like huffing and puffing and getting pissed at everybody on the warm-up lap of the warm-up session because everyone's holding him up. Meanwhile, the guy, he had a fast bike, but he was a shit rider. And I was telling people that were talking about it, like, do you see that guy? I was like, yeah, you'll see him later. He'll be on the side of the track, or he's going to be getting meatballed and pulled off. So turns out, in this session, we go out. Okay, so that's still Alex. Good, I can see the yellow rims, so I can see that that's him. So I was like, he pulled away because you're supposed to wait for the control riders to wave you by. So he waved him by, and then I was like, can I go? So I didn't roll on the gas. So now I've allowed him to get ahead of me and get a gap. So I've got to try to catch him back up. And that 765 is an amazingly capable bike. It's quite a bit lighter than my MT-10. It's a really light bike. Dry weight, If you do his was stock, so dry weight was like 367, 369, so maybe 415 fully fueled with all the fluids. Mine's like 470. So he's got at least a 50-pound weight advantage, and he's a smaller guy. That is a properly quick bike. Ultimately, I can reel him in with the power. But he's got Olin's on there. He's got Brembos. He's got, it's a really trick bike. I love that bike. I just wanted a leader bike. I wanted a bit more power and the reliability of the Yamaha this time around, so I went with that. But I probably wouldn't hesitate to get another one. But anyway, back to the guy. So the guy from Texas, who was on a fast bike, but you could just tell he's a squid. He's bought a fast bike. His rotors are all brand new. He's from Texas. I don't know how many turns they have there, but if someone's an experienced track rider, you know the drill. You know how to deal with the control riders. You're just like, okay, I'm with a new track day school, company that I've never worked with before. They by default put you in novice. You go out there, you play a little bit for the first couple sessions in novice, and then you ask after lunch to get evaluated so they can bump you. No big deal. So to go out there and to be bitching and waving your arms and throwing a fit and huffing and puffing because people are holding you up. Yeah, dickhead, it's a warm-up lap. On a warm-up session, they told you this is what we're doing. This is just to learn the track. We're going to keep the pace down. So he went up to, I heard him talking to another buddy of mine, Jamie, who's a control rider. I heard Jamie talking about him, like, holy shit, that's the dude. So Jamie's like, yeah, this guy came up and was all kind of belligerent and, demanding that we put that I'm too fast for this group. I've got to be an intermediate. The novice is too slow. It's holding me up, and there's too many crashes and red flags, and this is bullshit. And he's like, okay, dude, come with me. We'll evaluate you, and we'll see what you got. And if you are as fast as you say you are, we'll put you up in intermediate. So anyway, he's like, all right, I'm gonna lead for 2 sessions. Follow my line on this session here. I'm gonna do it for 2 laps, and then I'm gonna follow you for 2 laps. So Jamie leads, and the guy's not quite. He's almost keeping up with him, but Jamie's not setting a blistering pace. It's an evaluation. And then he switches and says, all right, I'm gonna follow you. And the guy high sides himself before his first full lap. He's out there trying to show how fast he is. And here's the thing. You're on a BMW S1000RR. That has a really good electronics package. I guarantee you that nitwit turned the electronics off. Because I see this on comments on YouTube videos every damn day. What do you need electronics for? That's just I want to be in control. And we've had videos about this before. I prefer to be in control. I want to be the one that's, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, anybody who thinks that, you're absolutely the one that needs the whatchamacallit. You absolutely are the one that needs the electronics. Rossi, Marquez, all the top riders in the world, the Isle of Man, they all use traction control, slide control. Yeah, this is where it just got fucking ridiculous. Pardon my French. But, there's the guy on the Gixxer 750 I passed earlier. He's off there in the gravel. And somewhere behind me, that dude high-sided and crashed, and they actually had to roll the ambulance. He got a little bit hurt and completely totaled his bike. So, if you have a bike, especially a leader bike, comes with electronics, they spent millions on R&D to build that bike and have test riders and MotoGP input and all that stuff. Leave that shit on. If you think, the guys who always think they're better than the electronics are the guys that absolutely aren't. And so that guy ended up ruining our session after bitching about all the red flags. So that ends our day. Hope you enjoyed. Tried to make what I could out of this. So, we'll talk to you guys later.